WGSN-DB Going Solo Network welcomes you to award-nominated relationship internet radio talk show, Going Solo with Cece. Host Cece Schatz is a speaker, author, blogger, and the leading transitional divorce and dating coach with My Friends Connect and Going Solo Next Step. Now, together, let's join Cece.
I have on the show with me Angela Caine. She's a transformational mindset coach, and she lives in the UK. So welcome to the show. Angela, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into coaching.
I work mostly with women sort of in the second half of life, 50s, mid-50s and that sort of thing. Many of them, well, most of them in fact have been and are single. But recently I've also been working with some younger women who are also single, who are about 35, and they are looking for a life partner as well. Plus they've got the added pressure of wanting to find someone before the biological clock runs out of time. So that's been interesting too.
That's very interesting. So what possessed you to get into being a transformational life coach?
I think it's been a lifelong education for me, really, Cece. Growing up, I always knew that I always felt different than most people. I felt like I didn't fit in at school, and I was very quiet and very, very nervous amongst people that I didn't know, and very, very unconfident most of my life. And then, to cut a long story short, I lost both my parents as a teenager.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, well, that was a long time ago now, but obviously that made me even more insecure. And so I then got married very, very quickly after the death of my mother. My father had died 2 years previously. So within 2 years, I'd lost both parents and got married. And I had a child. So within 2.5 years, I'd sort of, lost both parents, gained a husband and a child. And I thought that I had to be wonderful to my husband. I thought I had to agree with everything he said and never give him a hard time about anything. And that then he would love me and that he would always stay with me. And so I found out a few years later when we'd split up and we had a conversation, and he said that I was so non-committal about anything that whatever he did, I didn't show any emotion. And he thought that I didn't care at all about him. So that was a huge learning curve for me. And then it ended up a series of broken relationships with unavailable people. And I eventually went to a seminar about 20 something years ago. And throughout the time anyway, I'd always been interested in spirituality, and I'd always felt very spiritual. And I went to a seminar this particular day in Kansas City, and the speaker was talking about how you can change your life by changing the way you think. And every bone in my body, every cell in my body started vibrating from head to toe. And I came out of that seminar an hour and a half later, a completely different person than the one that had gone in. And so when I got back home to the UK, I started reading books, and then I've taken course after course after course, studied with the University of Metaphysics, and then I did a transformational course, and so it's gone on from there.
That's marvelous, because I have the same philosophy, and I call it movement of choice. It's like anything. If you make up your mind to do it, if you have that particular mindset, it can change whatever your outcome, whatever the outcome's going to be.
Yes, absolutely, totally. And so I realized that then that the work to find, because I didn't want to spend the rest of my life alone. I was a single parent and it was tough. And I thought, well, to find my next partner or somebody that I can be happy with, I realized that the work that I had to do was on myself, not on trying to get different dates and trying to get friends to find, match me up with somebody and that sort of thing. And so I started to do all what I call the inner work. And then my life totally started to change and has done ever since. And so now I work with my own clients I've tried to sort of analyze what I did over the years, but it took me like 20, 30 years to sort of figure it all out. And I certainly don't want that for them. So what I've done is I've pulled in all the different all the different various forms of studying that I've done. I've pulled in the best things, the best exercises, the best practices from NLP and energy medicine and metaphysics and all of that, and come up with something that I put my own clients through to do the really, really deep work on themselves. So if they tell me that they want to find a new partner, which most of them do, then immediately I say, okay, well, let's start working on you. Because I believe when they're ready, when they've dealt with all the issues and the demons and the self-limiting beliefs and so on and so on and so on, that then when they're in a good place, when they're in that place, then they'll be able to manifest into their life their ideal partner. And I've seen it happen with my own clients, and so I know this to be true, because pretty much everything really is energy, isn't it, when we come down to it? And so if we start doing the inner work, the consciousness work, then things just fall into place. And obviously, I don't mean we have to just sit there and say and not do anything in the world. We've got to get out there and put ourselves in situations where we are likely to meet people. But I don't believe that if you break up with somebody 2 weeks later, you start looking for your next relationship without healing your wounds. I don't think that's a good idea at all.
I agree with you. That's very well said. You really do have to analyze yourself. I think a little bit of the self-expression too, because you don't know who you are when you come out of relationship loss like that. And you just have to kind of find yourself again and determine that life is going to be good, even though it doesn't seem like that sometimes. But you do have to have that determination that you are going to seek happiness again, and it will happen for you. I do believe that.
Oh, absolutely. I do too, because I think if you give up even on a subconscious level, then you're not going to create the life that you want to create. And I firmly believe that we were born to create, and I do believe that it's our birthright as human beings, as conscious beings, to have joy and love in our life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I know that you do a lot of working with women, healing and helping women, but what you're saying also, I think, can be very directed towards men. Because I feel the same way. I mean, we are both men and women, I feel, put on this earth to create. And so I think that what you're saying is very vital to men also, because I have seen men go from relationship to relationship, and it's not a positive outcome. But I have known through my own divorce support group, those that have done the inner healing, as you've mentioned, and really started understanding more about themselves, what made them tick, what patterns in their lives, they've come away and had some fabulous relationships that are life-changing for them. So I think even though your specialty and you do reach women, the listeners out there, because we do have a large male following, I want them to know that all of that's being said can be used to your benefit also.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, because we think differently, I suppose, don't we? Or a different process. But ultimately, at our core, we're all the same, and we're all connected. And if you're devastated and you've built up these limiting beliefs about yourself, feeling you're not good enough, you're not worthy, nobody's going to be interested in you, you're too fat, too thin, too old, whatever it is, then those are the sorts of beliefs that will limit you for the rest of your life if you don't find out what it is that's hiding in the shadow and bring it to light and heal it, and then you can move forward. And yes, I totally agree, Cece. It's pretty much the same really for men, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It's just the way they look at
process.
Things. Maybe the way they look at things, or the things, the process that they go about. But the elements of healing, I think, are still the same.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if you find that women perhaps are more ready to get more anxious or ready to get help. Have you found that to be your experience?
I do find that, and I think it's because we're more emotional. So we tend to be more out there. What I'm finding with men is that they do crave that also, but they're not likely to come forward unless they're in just so much pain.
Yeah.
They will do that because they have been trained over the years to bury that, to hide
absolutely
that,
yes,
to not have that emotion.
Yeah.
And so when they're in so much pain, they can't control that emotion. Then it will turn to anger for men, which is sad. And you see a lot of that. But if you can reach them, if they'll be willing to come forward, men really do wear their hearts out. They really bring their hearts to you and let you in, and they will share how they're feeling. It's a little bit of a harder thing for men, but no means should we ever think that a man does not hurt.
No.
I went through years thinking, men don't really hurt like women do, but they do.
Yes. Yeah, I thought the same actually after my various relationships. And my brother and I are very, very close, obviously, because we lost both our parents. And so we're exceptionally close. When his wife left, he completely went to pieces. And I sort of nurtured him through that because he turned to me, even though he had lots of friends. And I was the person that he turned to. And I saw the absolute devastation and absolute raw pain that he was going through for weeks and months actually, and so that completely changed my opinion as to, and I thought, of course they feel the same as we do. Their pain is as bad as ours. It's just that most men probably try and hide it and don't talk about it, and then develop this attitude of portraying themselves to be totally thoughtless and unkind, and it's really not the case, is it at all? No. That's a persona that they develop because they've been hurt too.
Right. And a lot of times what they'll do is, and women do this too, I think when they move forward without healing. They tend to have a great deal of distrust. It's really hard for them to be able to move forward again. They think things are going to happen to them again. Because I personally feel that we have to understand the part we played in the demise of our relationship. I'm not saying that we have to take ownership of it. I'm saying that we have to understand the part we played in it. And we don't do that. I don't feel that we properly can move forward in our lives because we'll carry that pattern with us. And so if we can understand the part we played in it, we can heal from that, we can grow from that, and we can better ourselves from that. And so that is really crucial. And I do know that a lot of individuals that I have come in contact with, once they've done this, it has changed their lives. They've definitely been able to move forward. But if they can't, they just think that by sweeping it under the rug, those emotions are going to go away. And it doesn't. It causes a bit of a hardness. And it's sad to see. You know.
It is. It really is. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? And yes, I so agree with you. And because ultimately we are responsible for whatever happens in our life, aren't we? We have to take that responsibility. And when I look at the patterns in my own life and the way I've behaved, and I thought at the time that I was doing the right thing and doing the best thing I could to make a happy relationship, and I was totally not being myself. I was being some sort of a doormat. And who wants to live with a doormat? No one. And so people don't have the same level of respect for you, and they just treat you, well, people treat you as you allow them to. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn, but I did learn it. And once I did learn it, it never happened to me again. But I also think we have a really, really bad relationship, either male or female, and can come out of that and say, right, this is never going to happen to me again. And so instead of healing the pain and healing the wounds, we build this wall around us, and then we go out and the same thing can happen again and again and again with different people. We'll recreate, we'll keep capitulating the wound over and over and over again. You know, the same type of person, and we attract to us the sort of what we are. We project our fears and things and our limiting beliefs onto other people. and then we attract those sorts of relationships. So if we're wandering around with all this baggage of unhealed pain that we've never dealt with, we're going to attract somebody also that's not in the right place, that's also perhaps got lots of pain and baggage that they've never dealt with. And then those two dysfunctional human beings are not going to create a harmonious relationship.
Absolutely. You are right on with that. And the more that we can give them information like you're sharing today, the more they'll start to understand and where they need to go. The thing is let me ask you, if you start to see that, okay, I need to do something about myself, I need to start rediscovering myself, how would you, and what would you suggest for them to start? How could they start doing something like that?
Well, I think with my own clients, Cece, first of all, we sort of, have a conversation and say, right, okay, let's really be honest here. And what is it that you really, really want? And I get them to think about, if they want to get married or they want a new relationship, the type of person that they would actually love to have a relationship with. And then we'll have a conversation and say, okay, so who do you think you need to be to attract that person into your life? And then we work towards that. And so for me, it's a case of being really, really quiet, perhaps starting a meditation practice. And journaling, I find, is really, really helpful to sort of have conversations with my higher self or my soul. Even some days I'll get a notebook and I'll write me and soul, and then I'll perhaps sit quietly and close my eyes for 10 minutes. And then I start writing, and the writing, I'll ask a question. Me, I might say, why am I here? And then the soul will answer, you're here to carry on your purpose. And so I find journaling really, really, really therapeutic. And I think that if you do this practice and you keep at it, start it, and then sometimes you might start the first couple of times and nothing happens. But everybody that I've done this with, always something has happened on the first time. But if you keep doing it, you will find that you do get answers, you do get messages. And even if you think it's silly and you think this is crazy, I'm answering my own questions here, just keep doing it, because the higher self and the soul has a way of communicating with us. And you might find some really great nuggets of information in there that you think, oh my God, I didn't realize I was doing that. Or another thing you can do is look if you can spot any patterns in your last couple of relationships, what's happened in those relationships. Or perhaps if you're a lady and, you meet a guy and you think he's wonderful and you have a couple of dates and then he doesn't call you again. And you think, oh my God, that they never call me after 2 or 3 dates. Well, that's a limiting belief that you have, that you're creating that again in the next relationship. You're putting that energy out into the world, and that's what you're getting back. You're becoming the self-fulfilling prophecy that every man you meet doesn't call you after 2 dates. Those sorts of things. And really, there are books and things you can buy, but ultimately it's about really taking a good hard look at yourself and being brutally honest with what's going on in your head and also what's going on in your heart, and look at the person you've become. And have you become very hardened? Have you become selfish? Are you living in integrity with yourself, with other people? And, have you released, have you healed from your previous relationships? And if not, then the time to do that is now, so that the next relationship you have will work.
Absolutely. Very well said. Very well said. You are so right. I mean, I just love what you're saying. I can definitely relate to what you're saying. I think the journaling, that you've suggested is just a brilliant idea. I think it's very, very important to do that. Sometimes I think when you journal, and I've done this before myself, is when I write things, I then later on, I think nothing of it when I'm writing it. And then later on, I go back and I read it. And then I go, wow, I can't believe that I was thinking that, or I was feeling that, or that it was coming out. And I'll share with you, I was just recently, I had to write a chapter in a book that's just come out now. It's called Dare to Be Authentic, Trust in Yourself. And I was just kind of I'm not a writer. It really doesn't come easy for me to do that. But the journaling thing, like you were saying, does. And so I've been stressing out. I was stressing out over it. And then so I started thinking, what is this fear I'm having? Like, what do I really care? That I write something. If someone doesn't like it, they turn the page. It's no big deal. Why am I getting and that I think a lot about people out there, or listeners out there, they get so fearful of things that they put up that wall. So I decided, like you, I just sat down. I got up one morning and I thought, okay, I've got to do it. I had to turn it in within a couple of days, and I had months to do this. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to get up early where I'm fresh, and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do it. I literally wrote this chapter in like maybe an hour.
Wow.
And then I went back and I put it aside, and then I went back and I reread it, and I thought, oh my gosh, I had shared a part of my life that I've never shared with anyone. I did it in just a small amount of time. I made like one or two changes and I sent it to her, and she loved it. She said she made hardly any changes herself. It's just grammatical thing. The reason I'm sharing this is that I really do feel that if someone writes it, if they sit and and like you say, get the connection with their soul, get the connection with their being or higher being, and just let it flow. Yeah. It's amazing how you can let it flow out of you. So it's very, very important to do that. And then after a period of time to reread it. And then I think you would be surprised about maybe the anger that you're feeling, or the hurt that you're feeling, or the despair that you're feeling, that you're not feeling that when you're reading it. You know what I mean? You'll read it and you'll think, wow, I really felt like that. You've released it on those pages.
I find it so healing writing it, because you really are. And, I think we hold these hurts and these limiting beliefs that we carry, perhaps even that we develop at childhood and carry throughout our lives. And we actually carry them in our body, in our cells. They're in there. And so we need to do something apart from the mind stuff, the meditation and the changing our thought to more positive type things. But we need to do something physical as well to actually get them out, to express it. And it really is a way of expressing your feelings by writing them down. It's very, very helpful.
Right. And then also, as I was writing the article, and like I said, I went back and I read it over and everything, and I was shocked that I was able to share all of this. Then it was like an acceptance of what was happening. So I think that if individuals are going through some tragic times in their life, like, the divorce recovery, or just transition into dating, or just dating itself sometimes can be pretty tragic at times.
Yeah.
But if you write it down and then you give it some space and time, and then you read it, you can then gain an acceptance to where you're at. And you can say, you know what, that's how I'm feeling. I acknowledge that. And then I can move on from that. But if you don't do that, that just gets all pent up and locked down inside.
Yes.
And you just keep carrying it with you like that, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. One of my friends came to see me on Saturday night, and she was telling me that she's on about 6 different dating websites, and all the people that are contacting her, she doesn't feel a good match for her, and she finds it so disheartening. And she said she actually comes away from looking at them feeling very, very depressed, but she hasn't done the work on herself at all. She's gone from one relationship to try to get into another one, and then that didn't work. And then now she's on the third one in a few months, or trying to get the third one, I should say, within a few months. And she hasn't done hardly any healing work on herself. And so even if she does meet somebody, the chances of it working out are very, very slim, because she hasn't done the inner work.
Right. Absolutely. You just keep doing the same things over and over again. Isn't that the definition of insanity?
Absolutely.
And we wonder why we're crazy. But it's true. And sometimes I wonder, Angela, is it because we don't want to see it, or is it because we're afraid to see it? We're afraid to face those,
I think, I think fear is I think it plays such a massive, massive, massive role in everybody's life. And I think fear just stops us and paralyzes us. And I was speaking to a few of my clients recently, and I was saying, what is it that stops you in life? And the majority of them said that they don't feel enough, they don't feel good enough, and they're afraid of rejection. And rejection is a huge thing as well. And I know it's the same for men, because they're afraid of being rejected if they've been rejected in the past. Right. It's a horrible, horrible feeling, isn't it? When I'm sure we've all been there at some time in our lives. If you haven't, you're very lucky. And not necessarily rejected by a partner, but in some way been rejected. And it's an awful feeling. But we have to sort of really analyze the situation and say, okay, so that person didn't want me or didn't like me, or I didn't get that job, but perhaps that wasn't the right thing for me at this time. I heard somebody saying a few days ago, something I was listening to, and it was saying that, I can't remember what it was on now, but it was saying that they'd heard an interview with Meryl Streep. And many, many years ago, she'd gone for an audition to be casted in, I think it was the film King Kong. And the producer or the director or whoever it was that was doing the audition with her said, "You're too ugly to be in this film." And so I thought, my God, and she went and then she said something to him like, "Well, that might be your opinion, but I choose not to accept that, and I choose to find somebody else that has a different opinion of me," or something like that. And I thought, wow, that is brilliant, because she heard that information and she decided not to let it in, not to take it on board. And of course, she went on to have an amazing career, didn't she, in acting? And so for somebody else could have heard that day, and that could have been the end of it. They could have walked out of that office and thought, oh my God, I'm so ugly, I'm never going to put myself in this situation again. And they could have not been a famous actress or whatever it might be. And so fear, if we have been rejected, then fear stops us dead in our tracks and stops us striving for the things that we want in life. Absolutely. And we just need to sort of develop a thicker skin, really, and think, okay, well, that's that person's opinion. And if they didn't want me, that's okay, because somebody else will. And, just change the way we look at things, put a different spin on it, change our perspective. What is it that Wayne Dyer said? If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, or something like that. And they do. But we just have to be conscious and aware. And so if we have an experience that really hurts us, where are we feeling that pain in our body? And sit there quietly, feel the pain, experience it, and then decide to release it and let it go. Because I think if we just push it to one side and ignore it, it doesn't go away. Whether we think we're getting rid of it or not, we're not, if we don't deal with it. Because what you resist persists. I think that is so, so important. And just to understand that if we have a broken relationship, yes, it's devastating and it's heartbreaking, but we can heal from that. And we can build a successful partnership with somebody else if we allow ourselves to do the inner work and then show up in the world as a person that we like and admire. And the right person will then be attracted to us. So I would like to say to anybody that's feeling devastated right now, please don't give up hope. Just do some work on yourself, and you'll find in a few weeks you'll start to feel better. The pain will go if you face it and heal it. I find it so, so heartbreaking when I see people that, shut themselves away and waste so many years of their life because they've been devastated by a broken marriage or a broken relationship. And then they're just too scared to try again. And that is just absolutely heartbreaking to me. And I would encourage anyone not to do that, because life is so precious and we have so little time here. We have to enjoy it while we can. Forward.
Absolutely. Well, this is why, Angela Caine, you are a transformational life coach. This is why you are a natural. It comes from the heart. It's just inbred in you. And it's funny, isn't it? Because sometimes we go through life, we don't know where our purpose is, what our life is about, and then things happen. And so I think relationships are the same way.
Yes.
We move in and out. There can be many loves in your life. So just because maybe one didn't last forever doesn't mean you won't have another.
Yes.
So I get it. I get what you're about, and I get how successful you are. And I know you are in the UK.
Yes, I am. And it's pretty cold here at the moment.
Well, I hate to burst a bubble, but I'm in Florida, and it's really nice here. So
I'm sure it is.
I know. And you're where? And for what town are you in? You're in.
I live in Cheshire in the UK, so it's north of England. It's about 200 miles from London.
I lived in London for 3 years.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I loved it, and I loved the people, and it was great. But I missed Florida weather.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. I lived in Texas for some time, about 15 years ago, and I absolutely loved it. It was wonderful. It was one of the best experiences I've had. It was amazing, and I've still got friends from my time over there, and that I keep in contact with and email. And so, yes, it was amazing. So I absolutely love the United States too. And we hope to visit either later this year or next year. So
definitely look me up, because
yes, I will do. Well, my grandson is desperate to go to Florida, Cece. So we have promised him that we'll take him either towards the end of this year or next year. So
what, you want to go to Disney or?
Well, he said that I think he probably does want to go to Disney, because he's not been, and he's 16 now, so he's maybe a little bit old. But
well, you can still go.
Yeah.
We never grow up, do we? We never.
No. We certainly don't. No. So he does want to go there, and he also wants to go to New York as well. So
okay. Yeah.
We must. We have promised, if he does well in his exams this summer, then we've promised him a little trip to New York, even for a long weekend. So hopefully we'll be on your side of the pond.
Yes, that
too much longer.
Great. I just wanted to share with the listeners that you're over there. Like you've said, you've lived here in Texas, but then you're back there again in the UK, and we just don't know what our life is going to be, what journey we're going to be on, where it's going to take us, and what roller coaster ride we're going to be on. But sometimes we just have to have a little faith and mainly believe in ourselves and overcome some fear. Yeah,
that is the biggie, I think, isn't it? Just take your courage in both hands and push through the fear, and set your intention for what you want, but be open to whatever paths appear before you, and be open to possibility.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share with the listeners?
I don't think so, Cece. I think we've had a pretty good in-depth conversation about heartbreak and relationships, haven't we? So I do sincerely hope that anybody that's listening, this conversation has helped them somewhat. They may start on a path towards healing, and then from there, looking forward to the next exciting thing that's going to happen in their life.
Absolutely. And it is there. I mean, it is there for us all. And
it is.
You just have to want it.
Yes.
Believe that it will happen. And it is definitely there. And I appreciate you being on the show. This is Angela Caine, and she's a transformational life coach. She lives in the UK. However, she can connect with you anywhere through the internet. So we don't want that to stop anyone. So how can we get a hold of you, Angela?
My website, Cece, is angelacaine.com. And Caine is spelled C for Charlie, A-I-N-E. So that's just angelacaine.com. And my email address is angela@angelacaine.com. So you can contact me. I'm also on Facebook, and so you can contact me on there. That's about it, I think. I am on some other social media things, but I don't really bother with them that much. So I don't check those as often. But probably Facebook or email is the best way to get hold of me.
It's hard to keep up with all of it.
It is. There's no time to sleep, is there? If you'd be up all night doing all of it. So,
well, Angela Caine is a transformational mindset coach, and she does specialize with women. However, if you're a gentleman out there and you like what you hear, don't hesitate to call her, because it's really all about where you want to be. And if you're not where you're at, where you want to be now, where you're at, you can make it happen. And Angela, definitely, we could tell that you're an expert. You're good at what you do. Gosh, you're very inspirational, extremely inspirational lady. And I appreciate you being on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Cece. Thank you so much for inviting me. And I'm just sending all my love and best wishes to all your listeners.
Well, thank you so much. Well, this is Cece with Going Solo, and you are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I have on the show with me Angela Caine. That's ANGELACAINE. She's a transformational mindset coach, and she lives in the UK. So please, you guys, contact her on Facebook, and you can also reach her on her website, which is angelacaine.com. We appreciate you being on the show, and I can't wait to join you guys next week. This is Cece with Going Solo. I'll catch you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you, Cece. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed this interview with Angela Caine on Going Solo with Cece, and I'm pleased to announce that Angela Caine will now be one of our Radio International hosts with her new show called Relationship Ready Mind. So I hope you will join her each and every week as she shares with us all of the inspiration tools that we need to move ahead in our lives. Just check out the website WGSN-DB Going Solo Network for her show lineup.
I'm getting stronger with